I've never been a big fan of horror games, or anything scary at all. It's always been a genre that I genuinely hate, until I played Outlast. Outlast truly changed the way I felt about playing horror video games, and made me absolutely love them. I still can't find a game I loved as much as I love playing Outlast. The horrifying dread you would feel when you hear the haunting violent soundtrack makes you feel like you've been locked into place and the only thing visible in your night vision camera is a disgusting being whose only intentions are to kill. You play as Miles Upshur, an investigative journalist who enters the abandoned Mount Massive Asylum. When you, the main character, pulls into the driveway of the Mount Massive Asylum, Miles grabs three things: a file with the word confidential on it, some batteries, and most important, his 1997 Sony Camcorder! Miles does a little bit of a climbing puzzle and enters through one of the broken windows. Miles walks around the second floor of the asylum for a little bit before realizing he probably never should have come here. When you first enter the building, you meet one of many antagonists, Chris Walker. When you run into him, he launches Miles out of a window and you get knocked out. You then meet Father Martin, who claims Miles was his apostle and captured him. Based off of something religious, he seeks approval from God throughout the game, yet his morals are still unclear. Miles ends up passing out and wakes up in a cell where he was put by Father Martin. When you leave this cell, you realize you're in a cell block with the rest of the prisoners. You then have to enter the showers where you meet the naked twins that only want a piece of your booty meat. You then enter the asylum sewers where you meet Chris Walker again. When you escape the sewers, you then get chased by a pair of cannibalistic twins, just to be captured by Rick Traeger, a former Murkoff executive driven insane like the other inmates. Traeger straps Miles to a wheelchair and amputates two of his fingers with a pair of bone shears.
You paying attention? Don't pass that on me. There's still a lot for you to absorb.
Preparing to do the same thing with his tongue and balls. Miles escapes Traeger, and when Traeger tries to get in the elevator with Miles, he's crushed and dies. Miles then reconnects with Father Martin, where he tells him to go to the asylum's chapel. And when you finally get to the chapel, Father Martin burns himself alive. Those are the main stages of the game, but I don't want to spoil the ending as I recommend you play this game for yourself. As you play through the game, the atmosphere gets darker and creepier, making you more vulnerable to different aspects of visual and sound design. The screams, the creaks, the antagonists all fit together so well that it just makes you want to quit the game so you can calm down. For most of the game, you're going to be running, jumping, and hiding. The game has its cutscenes and scripted moments, but the true horror comes from the game's chase scenes. Some of the best chase scenes always come from the main antagonists. Not only are you running from these guys, but hiding under beds and inside of lockers as well. My favorite chase scene is either when Miles is running from Rick and Morty, or the black guy for the Green Mile. These chase scenes are fairly linear and keep you from exploring the asylum, making you feel like you have absolutely nowhere to go and you're stuck in a room with a 7'8" serial killer or a 5'9" killer dentist. These guys will give you the creeps and make you clench your booty every time they call your name and that violin music starts. I have to give a round of applause to Samuel LaFlame for creating true dread and horror through the sound of music. There's not a scarier soundtrack than Outlast out of any game I've played or any movie I've ever watched. Samuel shows that he really cares about the music he composes in this game and truly puts any other horror game to shame. He also says that he just wants to horrify the consumer.
The main goal is to make the player suffer.
When the sound goes from distant screams, pipes creaking, and low mumbling to high stress and loud violin music, it tends to make you defecate your pants. The atmosphere in Outlast 1 is great and the main reason why I like it so much. The setting changes very often and keeps the game fresh and non-repetitive. Switching from outside to the sewers, to a cell block, to a church is a great way to keep this game from becoming repetitive, and always has something new to share. The decaying asylum sets a great mood for being ripped in half and eaten alive while managing to keep everything scary. Oh, sir, please stop chasing me, sir. Sir. Close the door, close the door, close the door. What was that? Who is he? Go in the bed, there's a bed. Go, hide. He's right there. What do I do? Okay, he's gone. Left. What was that? Oh my God, what was that? Lord help.
Peter, there's no other way. Murder, in its
What?
the simplest form, but what happens
Oh.
when all the money's gone?
I don't know what happened.
Well, money becomes a matter of faith. And that's what I'm here
Why? What are you here for?
to make you believe.
Oh.
Sir, please don't take my fingers off. Oh my God. How am I gonna eat my Taco Bell? How am I gonna eat Osmos with no fingers, man? Oh my God. He took all my fingers. How am I gonna eat my beef wrap shawarmas? Please, bruh. Oh my mama. How am I supposed to eat my beef shawarma?
In conclusion, I give this game a 9 out of 10. I love my playthrough of this game and the payoff of finishing my first horror game. I've played games like Slender Man: The Arrival and Amnesia, but nothing compares to the setting, characters, and fun I had playing Outlast.